Right, when you do yours, I can read it out however, but I got it in there. You're up.
Good morning. Welcome to the December 2nd, 2019 Rankin County Board of Supervisors meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'm going to ask Craig Slade, would you please say a prayer for us?
Father, we're so thankful for the privilege that it is to come here this morning, to be a part of the business of the county, to participate, Lord. Thank you for the freedoms that we enjoy each and every day as we enter into this season, Father, of giving and sharing and fellowship with family. Father, I pray that you will help us all to be mindful of the reason for the season, Father, for the opportunity that we have to remember the gift that came to each of us. It's provided by you. Father, just help us to be mindful of that. Thank you for our first responders, Lord, and for those guys that keep us safe each and every day. I pray, Father, that you'll protect them and give them a great holiday. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. All right. Under public comments, our first on the agenda is Kendra Wright with the U.S. Census Bureau.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I am Kendra Wright, a partnership specialist with the United States Census Bureau, and I am here today with a short briefing on what the Rankin County Census Complete Count Committee has been working on, and also some information, a draft that I'm going to pass out very quickly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, man.
Well, Jared, you're right.
Also, I am joined by some committee members today. So Ellen Morgan, Scott Crowdis, Sylvanus Johnson are all here in attendance. We have added a new member, Mr. Ira Bridges, who's not yet made it, and we are still looking to increase the committee and make sure that we have all districts represented. But we are thankful, and you all have selected such excellent volunteers to participate thus far. So we've had several meetings and have a couple of requests for consideration. The first that I will speak to is that draft that I just handed you. So that was done gratis for the committee. The logo is for use anywhere that the Rankin County Board of Supervisors would be advertising, talking about, encouraging the public to respond to the upcoming 2020 census. As you know, April 1st is Census Day. The second is one that is artwork for students to take home and color, or if it's printed, perhaps like in Rankin County News or somewhere where it could be a cutout. It gets children involved in talking about the census, and so we're working with that draft and wanted to submit it for your approval on today. We have also had some meetings individually and collectively. I'll ask Mr. Sylvanus to come up and talk more about what he's done, but several areas of progress have been made. For example, partnership with our schools and with our libraries. We do have the support of the library system to, on one hand, make libraries available for Rankin County residents who don't have internet access or computers to come in and respond there. Also helping with getting the word out. We have had meetings with Brown Bottling to consider signage, so putting some signage up that also encourages, once again, Rankin County residents to respond to the upcoming census. And we would request the following. So the first would be to add a note on any mail-outs that come from the county, reminding those people that receive them to respond to the census. So if it's, just a short 28-character space that we have to work with, that would be one area where we could put a note just reminding people that, hey, the census is coming, and then once we get to that month to be able to say, please respond going forward. Also, consideration for a letter to the mayors of municipalities in Rankin County, encouraging them to spread the census message in their municipalities. We do have some complete count committees being formed in our municipalities, so it would be in line with that. Also, if there is a possibility of putting a census note or link to the census webpage on the county's page, that would also be a request for consideration. And lastly, making the 2020 census a standing item on our first few months of the agenda for the Board of Supervisors. So once a month, for there to be just an update on what's happening, what has been done or what's coming up, just to keep you all abreast of what the committee is working on. So those are the areas that we've been working in, and those are some of the progresses that we've made, and those are also some of our requests. Mr. Johnson, did you want to come up and add anything to that? Are there any questions about anything that I've mentioned so far?
Good morning. It's been a delight to work on the committee because we have such active and creative people on our committee, so we do enjoy the work that we are doing for you. One of the most important things and most exciting things that we have dealt with is with the school system. We did have a meeting with Representative Ms. Patrick with the Rankin County Schools, and she was just excited. There's so many ways that she can get our information down and get it even down to the children, to the parents, to the teachers. And also, one of the critical things, Southern Pine, I talked with them. They are on hold right now because we didn't know how far we could go as far as asking them to put it on all of the bills that they sent out. What we're looking for is to touch as many people as fast as we can, because just by phone and by mouth, it's hard to do. And I know being in politics, you understand that. You really have to get out there and get after it. But we felt that if we could get that statement on the outgoing bills, mail outs from all of our departments within our county government, that we could just about blanket the entire county. And just by that small statement, not to bore them or aggravate them, but that small statement. Also, we've been in contact with some churches, some of the churches, and they are delighted to work with us because they know that that's going to enhance the ability of the supervisors to make sure that progress is made here in Rankin County. And they're on hold. We're going to go back to them. We had artwork and everything being done, and we're going to follow back up with them. The bottling company, going to follow back up with them. We have contacts there. And what we're going to try to do is, as she had indicated, every school system, every busy corner that we can touch in Rankin County, we want to have a sign there. We want them to see it every corner that they turn to make sure there's a constant reminder. And the school system was really excited about it because they know that any financial progress that we make within the county is going to be more revenue for them to be able to educate our people. And we look at the fact that our future is so important, and if we get the young people on board now with the census, then they'll do better for us in the future. So we're trying to plant a seed at that point. We've talked with Walmart. Walmart will allow us to come in and set a station up there within the store, and they will allow us to work there. Kroger, they said that they would work with us. And one of the suggestions that they made was for us to try to hit all of the businesses that we can and use their community boards. But we wanted to make sure we had a product that you all approved before we placed any information out in the public. So we're grateful for that, and I think that by allowing us to be able to get those mail outs, we will see a gigantic response. I know we will. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank
Are
you.
there any questions?
Yeah, you have like a sample of what you want to have put on the notes on the cards?
Yes, we can provide that as well. Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have it with you, or you send it to me?
I have it
Okay.
electronically.
All right. Yeah.
So Randy, so I would suggest you contacted the district engineer for the highway department when you start putting these signs out, because the highway department's gonna be run a little bit different than we do as far as removing, if you get them too close. So, and I think there's been a change. I think Brian, who used to be in the district, has now been promoted to the state level. And so they're gonna be getting a new engineer, I think, here, and I'll find out who that is for you. But that might be helpful so you don't lose them.
Yes, sir.
Getting them.
Right, we'll make sure. Thank you.
Yeah, and in response to the, no, it would be just based on the length or the amount of characters that are available. So it could be as simple as please respond to the 2020 census and then hashtag Rankin counts or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking, you know, there's a lot of,
Yeah.
lot of statements that go out, and it doesn't take too much room. Well, I could add it to our statements. Never mind. Sorry.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all the volunteers that are helping. We appreciate it. All right, next on our agenda is Matthew Scott with Scott Builders and Development. Matthew?
Good morning. Good morning. My name, of course, Matthew Scott. I'm with Scott Builds and Development, LLC. And I am a local builder and developer. I have also served as on the board with a couple of communities as far as design of their communities, and particularly the Indian reservations and designing some of their communities. My complaint that I sent, and you should have a copy, I don't know if they pass it all, a copy of it to all of you all, and if you had time to read it or not, I hope you have, because
The
I don't.
Indian reservations?
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, which subdivision?
His complaint's in a deal in Castle Woods. He just said he'd worked on
okay.
some of them.
I was just giving you some of the
All right.
things that I have done in the past, so that you have some idea that I do have some type of experience. Typically, ADA, ADA is a civil rights law. It's designed to protect people who have disabilities. It was designed and implemented by the U.S. government, not by local authorities. And in their design, and also in that those pages that I gave you, it typically gives you an example of some of those things that that the federal government have the right to do. They have the right, total right of the ADA implementation. They also govern the communities and designate a community as ADA community. You know, for instance, if a developer develop a subdivision or an area that's all ADA community, and we don't have very many of them in Mississippi, but we do have some. These communities, when applying for permits, they have to have all of the information for ADA communities in those applications. And those, that information, that design that they do, that is what the local government implement and make sure that they go by those designs. The local government does not design that for the design team according to ADA requirements. From that point on, they make sure that the construction is done according to the ADA requirements and designs of the developer's architect. Also, typically the local departments don't specify ADA requirements because in that pamphlet it says that unless they have a certain authority from the federal government to do so. And my complaint is when I asked the local department, building department, for that, I was never entertained on that conversation. They just told me that they had the right. And from my experience, it's mostly the right of the federal government and the design of the architect who designed those communities. Typically, in a normal community like Castlewoods, there are ADA requirements for a community center, clubhouses, and things like that, because that is more in demand for people with disabilities. They'll probably be using that more than a residential house. Each individual residential house are not designed with ADA compliance unless it's in an ADA community. And this particular house that I just finished is not in an ADA community. And they wanted me to replace all of the sidewalk, well, not all of it, part of it. And I was trying to make my point that I really didn't have to. But they told me that I did have to. So that's the reason I brought this to the board. And I'm sure you had time to read it. So you can tell me if I need to follow their rules or not.
Yeah, I'm just going to defer to Ms. Lawrence. Did you have a chance to read the letter?
I have.
All right, okay.
I provided Mr. Scott with a copy of the sidewalk ordinance that the county adopted back in 2012.
Yeah.
That's our regulations. The sidewalk's in the right-of-way, the county-owned right-of-way.
Correct.
So it is public, so, so if it's in our right-of-way, he has to meet the regulations that we adopted.
Okay. Were you familiar with those?
I read it, but it didn't say that they had the authority from the federal government to imply
There's
that.
supposed to be a certain width and a certain slope.
No, we're not talking about that part of it. We're talking about the right and authority to enforce those specifications.
We've got a legal guy over here, and I'm sure you can get one, and we can all, we don't have to do that in here this morning. We've got a lot of business that we need to take care of, and that probably needs to be handled by our legal people to decide. I mean, we think we do have the right to tell you if it's in our right-of-way what the specs will be. You think that we don't. So I would, we're at a place that we're not going to finish this right here this morning.
Yeah, I think that's kind of our best stance. I appreciate your letter. We'll review the documents you gave us, and we'll get Mr. Slay along with Ms. Lawrence's office to get you a letter, official letter, basically stating the county's position.
And then if I need to pursue
Yeah, he'll give you an
anything
avenue.
from there, we'll
He'll
just
give you
go
an
from
avenue
there.
from there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Can I add one thing on the
Yes.
general? Add one thing on the public comments. I want to recognize also, just for a second. I know we had the tornado that came through last week, but I want to also recognize Mr. Harrison and Mr. Word's departments, along with the sheriff's departments. We had a crazy situation happen last week in regards to the tornado that came down. This was unlike any other storm that we normally have because we had very little notice. Normally what happens on our sirens and things that come out, we get some kind of watch area that's put out, and then once a warning comes out, we notify through our public displays of our sirens. Once we get a warning to come out, then we issue the sirens that go out through the communities. This storm that came up on us last week didn't give us that kind of notification. But in the same time that was coming out, I was on the phone with Mike Word and Mike Harrison, who was, while I was in my house watching it on the news, they were out in the field doing the actual task that was going on. So we had guys on the ground immediately happening. The sirens did not go off until the warning was issued, which at that point the warnings were issued, the tornado was already on the ground. It was a real freak instance that we didn't have much preparation or much warning for the storm coming out. But I wanted to mention to the people that we had deputies on the roads, we had our road department out there, and our EOC was on the scene minutes, if not at the moment it was actually taking place. Mike Word was out there on Rock Hill Road, was blowing over. Mike Harrison watched it come over through the Florence area. I know I was listening to Paul Mullins and several other of our deputies that were just tracking it and running it around, doing the best they could as far as being sure our public was safe as they possibly could. But it was a unique situation on the sirens. I know I had several phone calls on the sirens, but I wanted to mention that to everybody. that we don't put the sirens out until we actually get a warning in that area.
That's right.
It's no different than smoke alarms inside of a building. We don't sound the smoke alarms or the fire alarms until we have a fire, right? So it was a unique situation. A lot of times the Weather Service, National Weather Service, gives us an update, say, hey, you've got a warning in this area. We automatically sent the sirens off. This situation didn't happen that way. But with that even being said, with the sirens not going off, our road department was out there, our sheriff's office was out there, and our EOC was out there all night cooking food for the responders with emergency response bases set up along with MEMA. Numerous trees were cut. That was with the road department, the sheriff's office, and our EOC guys. And my hat's off to you guys for doing that. So while I was safe in my house watching it on the television, you guys were out there doing it. So I wanted to speak on that just for a second, Mr. President, and thank those guys for the job they did on that. So.
And continue the next day until.
Yeah, and went on
right.
throughout. So
Right.
those guys were good. So thank you.
Thanksgiving Day, Word had some blue tarp sent back on the scene. So
Yeah, and I wouldn't eat
thank you.
words cooking out there. I'd be somebody else to do that. But for the rest of them, thank you for that very much. So
Mike, I thought you cooked pretty good with those hot
you
dogs at Antioch.
you got to be hungry.
Yeah, we
You got to
were.
be hungry. You know what I'm saying? You got to be hungry. So, but I did want to mention that point right there.
Yeah.
So I know we had 13 homes. I think I don't want Mike to speak because we won't get out till 10.
Yeah.
But I know we had around 13 homes or so, Jared, hit on that same. Luckily, no loss of life. You know, this is about a week on that anniversary of the 1992 tornado that came through in Duncan Trailer Park and portions of Brandon that came through. I was about 6 months on the fire department when that happened. We had 13 fatalities at Duncan Trailer Park that night.
Monterey real bad.
Yeah, it was crazy that night. So it was about a week offset on that deal right there. So it was a absolute mess. But thankfully nobody was hurt. But I wanted to mention that on the sirens, Mr. President, just so everybody kind of understand why there wasn't a laudable sirens. And remember, those are exterior sirens. They're not really designed to be heard in the homes. But we put those out when warnings come up from the National Weather Service. So that's all I can say. I'm done.
All right.
Sorry about that.
No, thank you. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Mr. Word. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Thank you, Sheriff's Department. Thank you, Jared. I think everybody responded as quickly as possible. We do have the best emergency responses in Rankin County, I think, than any county around us.
Local volunteers.
everybody-
right there.
Everybody's on
Yeah,
top of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Under old business,
Make a motion.
minutes. Okay. Jared makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Daniel seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Bob makes a motion. Jared seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Ms. Fortenberry.
Good morning, gentlemen. I brought Caroline Gilbert to introduce her to everyone today. She's our new collector-elect, I guess is the way you say it. The only thing I have on the agenda is for Caroline to attend the new assessor-collector orientation this week in Starkville to pay reimbursement for lodging and pay any travel-related expenses.
Where would
Make a
that
motion
Where would
to
that Egg Bowl trophy be at? Would it be in Starkville still?
It was,
I'm not
in-
talking
no.
about that. I refuse to talk about
it
that
was
today.
at,
Judy wanted me to mention about that Egg Bowl trophy, so I wanted to bring that up. But
no, it,
is that there?
Really out of line.
Is it still there? Caroline, do
No,
you
it was
mind?
at-
The only reason we're going to approve this is because I'd like you to. Do you mind? We don't really send out a lot of orders to anybody, but if you don't mind, would you find out if that's up there?
it was in Flowood Saturday.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. President, we ought to require her to get a picture next to the
Yeah,
egg
do you
bowl.
mind? And send that back to us for-
Proof that she attended the-
So if you can do that for me, I'll make the motion to approve.
Are you gonna be upset if I'm in the picture though?
No, I just want a picture of the trophy.
Okay.
I think it's still there. So
All right. Daniel makes a motion.
Second.
Jared seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, Mr. Sullivan.
I'm joining Mr. Sullivan
Uh-oh.
to pay off a bet
Oh, you
that I lost.
oh,
thought it was going to be in nickels, maybe pennies. I'll take that. I need that so bad.
I'm gonna buy me a pack of gum.
Oh, man. That looked painful.
As an Alabama LSU game.
Taking care of business.
Yeah. I got 2 items, and then I'm gonna add one. Authority to issue check to the United Postal Service for $10,800 for our homestead exemption mail out.
Motion approved.
All right, Jared makes a motion. Jay seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item B, approval for the final resolution for the ad valorem tax exemption for 2019 for GI and Associates for Flowwood for 8 years and Capital Ortho for 10 years.
Motion to approve.
Bob makes a motion.
Second.
Jay seconds. Any other discussion?
Yeah.
I have a quick question. Have we
All right.
ever adopt a new policy? You know, we had talked about trying to keep some of them, and we realize we can't do all the village, but keep something, maybe?
I know we have another one coming, and there should be some opportunity to keep at least road and bridge.
Yeah, there's, here's
The schools.
the deal. On that particular statute, obviously, that's a state statute. It's applicable to state level provisions. It would be exemptions that are on the basis of, that they are entitled to grant funding and other exemptions that are administered through the state level. All of the local taxation is subject to the discretion of the Board of Supervisors under that statute. You can say, we are not going to give any exemption. If you wanted to take that position, you could take that position. You've already taken a position with respect to some of the early applicants, those being GI Associates and Capital Orthopedic. You took the position that we will offer those benefits. Those were the first 2 out of the box to indicate their willingness to come to Rankin County, relocate to Rankin County, and to provide jobs and other benefits for the local community. At some point, you've got to make a decision. Do we want to continue to offer these kinds of exemptions for these level of services as the market continues to progress for medical services in our community? And that's just a call that you guys have to make. But whatever structure that you choose to follow, my advice would be to set some sort of policy to provide some meaningful information to those who are considering coming to Rankin County, qualify for these exemptions, some sort of information that they can do their planning and their financial pro formas on. And the policy could look any number of ways that you wish for it to.
Troxler came in here and we talked, and we said, so like a certain percentage, no more
Yes,
than
sir.
20 or 25%, because they need to get at least the majority of it done. And I thought we adopted something starting next July.
Bob, this, we may be mixing 2 different things here.
Could be.
One, this is the medical, it's the medical corridor exemption statute. That's a specific MDA-driven statute, okay? 57, something, all right? So we didn't set a policy for that specific exemption. We set a much more global policy that's applicable to all of our tax exemptions that Rankin First typically uses for all people in the market. What we're talking about right now is some sort of policy just for the medical corridor. All right, so an idea could be something along the lines of the policy, by the way, that you did adopt, which says it's got to meet a certain threshold of investment. You set a pretty significant threshold of investment. I think I recall it being $30 million. The second was something along the lines of the number of jobs that would be added and making sure that it meets that. And so and then you limited what could in fact be exempt. You decided, and I don't remember specifically, but I think what we said was you're not going to get the road and bridge exemption. I think we said, you know what, you're going to need to continue, even with the other exemptions that we're going to authorize, you need to continue to contributing to what it's costing for us to provide roads to get to your facility. Okay, so those are ideas. You could exempt the school tax or a portion of the school tax. You could exempt road and bridge. You could exempt specific millages like Hines, whatever. You could do anything you want to do. My recommendation would be this. Keep in mind that as you establish these exemptions, if you do flat percentages, you're going to create a heavy workload for your administrative staff to settle those taxes. What I would propose that you do is to look at each millage item and segregate those millage items and say, we're not going to give road and bridge, we're not going to give Hines, we're not going to give school. Those are much more specific, and they're much easier to settle, because whatever the millage rate is, you're not trying to calculate specific percentages across all of the millage items. So that would be my suggestion, that you do it that way.
All right. We definitely need to do something. We give up everything and then they benefit from it.
Motion, I think the motion already been
Yep. We had a motion by Bob and a second by Jay. These, we have implied to them already that they,
We have implied, and, yes. But
Sir?
there's also something you can do on the exemption. We always give either 8, 10, 15, 20. We can do 1 year, 2 year, and come back and relook at it.
I think that's what we done with global. That's the reason we did it next July, to allow them to have the opportunity to budget for it, you know.
Well, where are we with them then, right now? Where they stand?
Well, they went through it, and we gave it to them.
I thought we've already voted on it. Were approved at a prior board meeting before we actually settled the rolls to the Department of Revenue. So what you're doing today is you're simply formalizing, acknowledging that we got everything back from the rolls now, we got everything back from the Department of Revenue, and you're doing a final resolution to be able to document that it's all good to go. The exemption is cleared, the OR has approved it, we approved it, and we're ready to move.
So, John, do you see us getting a lot of backlash if we approve the exemption but withhold certain millages
you talking about these two?
on all of them?
These two and any others?
Yeah,
I mean, of course, when they're asking for exemption, they want the moon.
they want
but-
it all, yeah.
But when you know that their company is in Rankin County, and we know that we have the best county around, I don't think the backlash is going to be much. People come to Rankin County because it's Rankin County.
Yeah.
And then if you hold out road and bridge, I
Yeah.
can't see how anybody can disagree with that.
Yeah.
We're saying we want to keep up with our infrastructure. So, and
What-
then you can
what do we
always
need to
flip
do
it and
to-
say, you're already getting this.
Yeah. What do we need to do to like set this in stone so that we don't, every single one that comes down the pipe?
Can I just suggest to you, we got a meeting on the 16th, is that right? We have a meeting on the 16th. Let's get with Rankin first. They helped us with the global policy. Let's get with them and say, this is what we're thinking we want to do on this. And get some feedback. It could be that they're not anticipating a lot more play on this particular exemption. I mean, we may be getting towards a much slower period on this level of development. It may not be that big of a deal.
Oh, I know another one coming that's already got the approval on the.
Right, and we may want to also get with the municipalities and include the mayor and board of aldermen to where municipal and county policy really run on the same guidelines when it
Yeah.
deals with exemption.
Right.
I like that idea. Everybody speak with one voice.
As far as this one though, we've
This one's,
done,
this is
we
done.
can't do anything here.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is nothing more than documenting after the fact that everything is cleared, all hurdles.
We made it 2 years, though.
They made it, all right, is that for this year? What about for next year?
They'll have an exemption.
No, this is, huh?
They'll have an exemption for next year.
Yeah.
These two.
Yeah,
But my understanding is we can change the amount of the exemption, correct? We have that authority
even on these?
No,
Not these.
for the full 8 years?
So we're stuck with that 8 and 10 years of stuff?
here.
That's what I was getting
These
at,
two.
okay.
Just these two.
All right, okay.
The number 3 that Jay is talking about
Right.
is in the infancy stage.
Right,
They are basically exploring whether or not they can qualify for the exemptions before they even decide to turn in the dirt.
I got you.
And so we want to be able to telegraph back. There may be some exemption out there, but it's going to be limited.
Well, they sent me the letter where they've been approved, so, I
By
think,
MDA.
by MDA, yeah.
Correct.
Right.
So, yeah. All right, okay.
Okay,
And then I need to add item C, a contract with Tri-State.
We hadn't voted on this.
Oh, okay.
We have a motion by Bob, second by Jay, and we had other discussions. All right, all in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
I need to add contract with Tri-State. We already have a contract with Tri-State, but this is redoing it. Laura can tell you the details on it.
It will increase from what we have now, but there was a person that John wanted to hire as an employee of the county that will not be now. It will be coming through this, so it's going to be more beneficial to us at less cost. Instead of hiring that person as an employee with all the fringes, they're gonna go through this to perform the service.
How much Tri-State gonna provide us?
Charles Ball.
Oh, okay.
Make a
Motion to add to the agenda.
Second.
I will have a motion by Bob to add it to the agenda, second by Jared. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes to add it to the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Bob makes a motion to approve. Jared seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, Ms. Bridget.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have been receiving proposals for the personal property appraisal services. We received one proposal.
One.
The proposal received was from Statewide Business Appraisals. I recommend that be taken under advisement.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Bob makes a motion. Jay seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Just one, huh?
Motion to approve work accomplished 19, November 19, and scheduled for December 19.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Bob to approve, second by Jared. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank y'all, and I would like to extend my thanks to y'all. We wouldn't be able to do our job without y'all funding us and giving us the proper tools to do our job with, so appreciate y'all being able to do that for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Parker.
Should my heart flutter when I see Oak Grove written on that thing?
Yes.
Bishop?
I don't know why. Why is Oak Grove on there?
I don't know, it just flutters a little bit.
Is there
I mean, it doesn't really go into a full rhythm. I mean,
Wow.
it's not nothing crazy, but I mean, it's just a little disrhythmic.
Thought we were done.
No.
Not quite, but we're moving along. First item I have on this is the Andrew Chapel Road Bridge Replacement Project. I'm recommending approval of pay application number 7 to Joe McGee Construction, Inc. in the amount of $20,547.26.
I make that motion to approve. All right, Bob seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Second item I have on the agenda is we're requesting approval of a summary change order number 3 on Hemp Hill Construction Company for the work performed on Oak Grove Drainage Improvements Project for an increase of $2,015.05. The purpose of this change order is final quantities and adjusting out after the final measurements were made. So I would recommend approval of that change order.
Motion to approve.
All right, Bob makes a motion, Jay seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Since that change order was approved, I'm recommending the Oak Grove Drainage Improvement Project final pay.
Wait a second, Mr. Parker, what did you just say?
I thought he said final. I thought he said final, but I mean, I don't know.
No, man, it's just like, I don't get lightning strike.
Play on words.
I'm sorry.
No, we closed this out a month or two ago.
Okay, once again,
Working a month ago.
recommending approval of final pay application in the amount of $81,167.48 to Hemp Hill Construction Company and authority to issue that check.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'm waiting on the man down there.
Yeah.
You okay with it? You all right?
Let's get it on.
Let's do
All
it.
right, Bob makes a motion, Jared seconds, Jay thirds.
I think you're still thinking.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Final. I'm writing final.
I'm putting a sign up over there for you.
Instead of having a ribbon
Motion
cut or
passed.
Thank you.
celebrate, we're gonna have a Christmas tree light.
Hey, where is your statue going in Oak Grove? Is it at the entrance? Where is it going?
First item under my section, Mr. President, if we're ready to move on,
Yes,
is
sir.
item A. We'll take that one separately, setting a public hearing for December the 16th at 9 o'clock for the stormwater management program.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Bob makes a motion, Jay seconds. Any other discussion?
Adopting something.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Motion to take take B, C, D, and E together to set the public hearing for January 6,
You want to
2020.
set the public hearing, you want to
Second.
see?
It's all in Steve's district anyway.
Huh? Yeah, let's just set it. Let's set them all.
They're all in your district. You
I
wanna
see
set 'em
that.
all?
I
We
see
won't
it.
even set the public hearing.
We don't,
We just set the
I
public.
mean, we can discuss, let's discuss C.
B,
C.
See?
C.
Will you give us some background, Ms. Lawrence, on C?
So let's just do B. then go.
B?
Yeah. let's
Okay,
act on B.
all right,
Yeah.
okay. Well, it's, me too. Well, I make a motion that we set that public hearing, B.
Second.
All right, I made a motion, Jay seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now,
What
C,
about the rest of them?
we're just gonna do them individual.
Yeah.
then. All right, now,
We received an application from Mr. Allen,
Your microphone on, Mr. Florence.
I think this is, gentlemen, we've had issues before.
That's correct. But anyway, he wants to expand again and add some larger building, well, one larger building. I think it was maybe 10,000 square feet
220 feet by 40 feet.
along the road there on Oakdale.
Have we made him get rid of all those trailers and everything?
The ones that the people were living in, we
The
have.
campers. He did do that, but he has, he lets all kinds of vehicles come in and park. I think we've gotten some complaints about some large trucks coming in late at night and parking and things like that. But anyway, he's requesting to expand again, and so that's what this is for.
So if we choose not to even hear it, we don't have to set a public hearing, do we?
You can absolutely not set a public hearing, and
I just assume
He'll
not
have to
set a
take it
public
up.
hearing.
That's what I assume to do.
you need to state
You
your,
need a motion to decline?
you need
or
to, you need to state your, no, you can just pass it, yeah, but we need a basis for it, Jay. We
Well,
need
I
to
mean, he's
understand.
been a nuisance in the past.
Okay.
And operated, beyond our ordinances.
Correct.
So. I mean,
Can we state as the reason that we need additional information from the applicant about the prior history? We need to get comfortable with what exactly the proposal is. We're not at this point prepared to set a public hearing because we need more information. We can do it that way. That I think that would be within within the boundaries of your discretion.
Larry was wanting to say something over
We had a
there.
complaint this past week about he moved some house in out there right on the right of way or right up on the right of way. Some big
Yeah.
house, neighbors overall complaining, it's just sitting there.
So your basis would be that there's an issue of whether he is presently compliant
Oh, it sure is.
with our ordinances,
That's across the street.
with our requirements, our regulations, and we want to establish that he is in fact compliant before we entertain any additional request. Okay? So that would be your motion, that we're gonna
really my
pass,
district,
we're
but
gonna
it's-
pass item C until we get additional information about
You already-
compliance.
yeah, I mean, my thing is, I don't want to send a message. I mean, it's obvious that we are not in favor of expanding what we have out there. I don't want to send a message for him to spend more resources bringing things in here if it's going to continue to be outside of compliance, and what's there is outside. Some of that is. So I don't want to encourage him. In fact, I've already told him, don't spend a penny until this process is over because it doesn't, I don't think, well, I'm pretty sure today if we voted, it would not happen.
Well, and the same side, until he gets everything else in compliance, don't entertain the idea of something else coming up.
That's correct. Yeah, so we've got a compliance question. We don't want to entertain any additional.
The community out there is enough, and I think.
He knowingly went around our rules and did it in our face. So, you know, I mean.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm leaving.
Everything there has been after the fact, after it was already done.
Right, he put it in and then said, sorry. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to pass item C.
All right.
All right. Item D.
I make a motion, we, set this. Item D.
Second.
All right, I made a motion, Jared seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item E is to set a public hearing for January the 6th at 9 for the Timothy and Lynn Letcher conditional use permit, J.C. Prestige Road.
Make a motion that we set it.
Second.
All right, I made the motion, and it was such a tie, I don't know who seconded it.
I did. Or
Okay.
Jared, either one, whatever you want to do.
Daniel
Flip phone,
seconded.
there you got it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item F is the authorization to issue purchase orders for the following activities and expenditures pursuant to 1911-27. And the board is making a specific finding that each of the activities enumerated and the expenditures associated therewith are necessary and essential to the efficiency and economy of the operation of the county. And you see those items listed there. I would like to add an item 8 in light of the storm debris in the Star area. If we can add an item 8, this would authorize the grinding of that debris. And so we would need a purchase order issued for that purpose. We believe that it will exceed $5,000, but be less than $50,000. And so we would need a purchase order issued for that, and then authority to make that expenditure as well. So number 8 would be grinding the storm debris.
Do you make a motion to add that to it?
Actually, you will be adopting the list as I have just amended it with an item 8
Okay.
added to it.
All right.
So all these 1 through 7 are asphalt?
No.
Jay,
No.
I didn't look
Truck.
closely at all of
No.
them.
No, they're
2 trucks,
truck
Couple
purchases.
Couple of equipment purchases
pipe.
and some pipe purchases.
Yep. I'll make the motion to approve 1 through 8.
Yeah, all of this is related to the time period that we're in, the last 3 months of the term. And so there's this specific finding that has to be made. After January,
The storm.
yeah,
And I was
after
like, wait a
after
minute.
January,
Need 2 trucks.
Yeah.
for the storm.
Yeah.
after January,
Eight's the
you're not
only
going to be
thing on
dealing
the
with this.
Yeah, okay.
I would vote to add it first.
All right, well,
He said
Oh,
we
you
didn't
just
have
said we
to.
didn't have to.
He said we
Yeah.
didn't have to.
I have amended item F to include number 8, which is the grinding of the storm debris.
Is he something special or something?
It's
You-
Christmas. He feels good.
You're going to be adopting the list as
All right, I
stated
make a
here.
motion to adopt the list as, and including item 8.
Second.
all right. Jared makes a motion to adopt the list, including item 8, and Daniel seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item G, Mr. President, is a ratification and resolution that authorizes the filing of eminent domain cases. These are about 7 or 8 cases that we're going to be required to file on the Andrew Chapel project and on the Gunner Road project. This is nothing more than ratifying the fact that this board makes a determination that those cases need to be filed and we need to acquire the right-of-way so those projects can move forward.
Make a motion to approve.
All right, Daniel makes a motion. Jared seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. President, item H is a discussion of, and if the board is ready to take any sort of authorization activity, the food service vending at the multipurpose pavilion. The board is aware that our current food service vendor, Backyard Burger, That franchise has sold back to corporate. Corporate notified under the arrangement that we have, the contract that we have. They gave 30 days notice, which terms at the end of December, 30 days notice that they are not going to perform under the contract anymore. They have that right. And so their time of service is at an end, will be without a vendor effective December 30. And so if the board is prepared to move forward with another process to put an RFP out, we are prepared, your staff is prepared to move forward with that. We have our prior RFP, which I believe forms an excellent basis for the RFP that we would need to push out, so we could do that quickly. So if the board is ready to authorize the issuance of the RFP for that purpose, we can go ahead and get it out. You're not deciding on anything, you're just authorizing the completion of and then the publication of the RFP. If you know of any vendors who should receive a copy of the RFP, we need to know.
Is this following the timeline with Flowood and Brandon too, because they get terminated?
Yes, sir. My understanding is that each of those, yes, sir,
Oh, they had the same
each party.
What's Ralph's name who owns Seaworks Cafe? He was interested last time. He showed up late for his bid though.
But we just need you guys to think through who ought to get a copy. Doesn't mean they're going to participate or that they would be interested at all, but at least give them an opportunity. So, and this is going to have to move fairly quickly because we've got, we're booked all the way in through 2020, all the way to December. And in fact, Ken Sullivan's already provided me with the actual listing of events, and it's booked solid from what I can tell. There may be a few weekends here and there, but it's booked pretty much solid all the way through.
Motion, put that out there for RFP.
Yes, sir. You've already got an action here, but what I need is motion to get the RFP completed and get it out.
So I make that motion.
Second.
All right. Bob makes a motion, Jared seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, this is related to your ortho digital photography project. The board has already approved an MOU with, I think it was 9 counties. John left me, so I don't see. I think it was 9 counties originally, but it's an MOU for all 9 to go together for digital aerial photography.
That's what we did last year, wasn't it?
You did it last year?
Yeah, and I think the coverage came up and he couldn't get over the
We got too
canopies
late
came up,
into the season. It was there was going to be leaf out,
Yeah.
and they were concerned that the photography would not be of the highest quality that we could get.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Daniel makes a motion, Bob seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Literally, all you just did was add 2 counties to the MOU. That's all you did. Item J is ratification authorization of the board president to execute an MOU with the Department of Environmental Quality regarding the digital ortho photography. What this is an MOU that says we're entitled to be reimbursed through DEQ grant funds.
Yeah, so moved.
you're approving that.
Second.
Daniel makes a motion, Bob seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right, item K is a long one. This is related to your Keep the Res Beautiful MOU that you already have in place that terminates by its language 12/31/19.
Yeah,
This
let me speak on that one second. I'll interrupt you because I may make it kind of quick. They did this last year. They got a grant that pays for inspectors that come through. Same thing we did last year. We just re-upping it for the next year. Same deal. And no cost to the county that they pay, and they can contract out additional inspectors to be sure stormwater, wastewater is going the right way, and all the protections on sites are correct, silt fences, stuff like that. So it's an extension for 1 more year, right, Mr. Select?
Yes, sir. There is one change,
Right.
which is to allow the individual that serves under this MOU but provides the service can actually go outside the Keep the Res Beautiful footprint
Yeah.
and help us with other areas of the county in addition to the reservoir area, and it not impact their grant funding.
Yeah. I'll make a
Just-
motion to approve.
It's actually
Is it-
a benefit.
Is that on request from us? I mean, we don't want them out there solo.
They got to partner with Ms. Renee's office.
Okay.
So, I mean, she's got to assign them where they go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not
All right,
going
and-
rogue on
I
us.
get you. All right.
For the
Daniel
record,
makes-
for the record, there is no change at all in the compensation structure. This person
Yeah.
is part-time, they're not entitled to county benefits, and so they're presumptively, as long as it stays under the $25,000 compensation limit, there is no cost to the county.
Right. All right. Daniel makes a motion. We have a second. Jared seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Gentlemen, I will have an executive session for you today.
Wow. You want to tell us up front?
Ms. Martin, you're next.
Okay, good morning. Item A, we have authority to renew our medical insurance with Blue Cross Blue Shield with an excess risk as the reinsurance under agent Mickey Watkins.
So moved.
Bob makes a motion.
Second.
Jared seconds. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I thought there was consideration of going up to their CPI. Anybody talk about that?
They do, every year the admin adds on
Yeah.
money. I believe it was $1.25 maybe.
Okay.
Our excess, our risk insurance has also gone up. There's basically nothing we can do at this point. We are gonna look earlier in the year next year if we have any possibilities out there of structuring it different, you know, to save us some money on that. But we still are with excess risk, and we do have 3 people lasered.
Okay. Not really okay.
No, but
It is what it is.
All right. Bob, did you make that motion? All right. No? You said, okay, Daniel, you made the motion?
I think Jay made
Jay?
it.
Bob and Jared.
Okay. Bob?
I'll second.
Makes
I'll
motion.
second.
Jared seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes.
Item B, approve vision insurance with NVA with Milton Walker as agent of record.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Bob makes a motion, Daniel seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item C, approval to renew Delta Dental Insurance with Group Services of Mississippi with Kristen Bain as agent for a 1-year extension at our current rate.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Bob makes a motion, Jay seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item D, approval of 2-year rate guarantee with no increase for Cigna Life AD&D with Cigna LTD with Millette Administrators, Paul Millette as agent.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
All right, Bob makes a motion, Daniel seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item E, authority to pay constables allowance for lost calls in the amount of $1,800 each. Brad Patridge, Barry Bean, Gary Wyndham, and Robert Hancock.
So moved.
Second.
Daniel makes a motion, Jared seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item F, new Rankin County Courthouse facilities, authority to pay JH&H Architects, Planners, Interiors invoice 190258 for architectural services in the amount of $71,341 and authority to issue that check.
I hate to even ask. I know, but I mean, I don't. Maybe just text us. Do anybody have an idea of the close date? Will it be before 2021, or do we have?
We are now working on an RFP for moving services. The board was notified about that. You authorized preparation of an RFP for that purpose.
Yeah.
And we are lining that up from a timing perspective for that to take place in March.
Okay. So March is now the move-in time?
We've gotten indications from architects and others that we would be on safe ground, to structure our RFP for moving services to hit us in that March 2020 timeframe. Okay? That's what we're being told.
All right. I'm not going to spread the word.
The only official date that you've received from your architect is December the 27th, I think it was. December the 22nd.
2021.
No, well, he didn't give a good point, Jared. He didn't give a year.
2020.
He didn't really give a year.
20 maybe.
Yeah. So we haven't heard anything other than December 27th, but we didn't anticipate that was going to actually hold.
What?
We're expecting that
It's not
March
gonna
2020 timeframe. And your plaque for the building that has the board name, the chancellor clerk's name, the architects, et cetera, the plaque that goes and says who's responsible for the building, we had that changed from 2019 to 2020, if that tells you
Probably
anything.
smart.
Is that permanent? I mean,
It's supposed to
We
be
better
permanent.
just wait
but
till they put the last digit on
I'm
there.
wondering, kind of like the Christmas ornaments where you can change the
just
year.
add the, yeah. Make
Yeah,
it-
so we're going to get that fourth digit out there.
Leave it
as-
blank.
as-
Leave it
Put
blank.
two
when you can
zero two,
rotate.
leave it blank.
Yeah.
Is it gonna show 6 supervisors?
Yeah.
Bob?
Yeah.
And then our new one?
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
We need to have something on there for Bob.
Yep.
All right, let's, handle this one.
I'm good on it, but I don't want no additional days.
We don't have any days.
There's this
I hadn't got there yet. Sorry.
We hadn't got,
I'm just telling you what I'm going on G. So
all right.
We gotta get a second on.
Do we have who's got,
I'll second on F.
Okay. Daniel got it.
was it Bob that
Yeah, Bob.
give
made
us a
the
motion? Daniel seconds. All right, any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
I'm all good. I'm gonna make the motion to approve G with no additional days.
Wow.
Just because. I mean, that's what they just stack them on there anyway. You know, it doesn't mean anything. It's trivial.
We voted to give the architect days at the last meeting they came in there.
Yeah, I guess that's my point.
I think you weren't here.
These are like miscellaneous, just fun days. I mean, none of it means anything. We don't hold anybody accountable to them. They move it how they want to move them, so I don't even know why I approve them. And they're going to come back at the end anyway and say, I've got to have 3 more months.
Look at it like this. So far, it hasn't cost us any more money. You know, the fact it's taking forever today to get it there, you know, so, I mean, it's costing the contractor because he's having to keep people on site, you know, and stuff like that, but whatever, I'll go for it.
Yeah, I don't, they're going to come back in and say we need 25 days anyway, 30 or 40 or 100.
They do have some reasons for the days, though. I mean, and they should have brought them out earlier, these reasons, for some valid
And
reasons.
it gets to the point when you have faith in your architect and what they do in the interpretation of the contract. And that's what we did at the last meeting. We said, okay, we trust Carl and his bunch. They recommended it. Let's go ahead and at least approve was it 30 days, 28 days we have out there on the architectural.
What are we asking for days now?
They want more, 11
10.
more days, and I
Was
just
it
said
10
no.
or 11?
My motion's with no days, but
How in the world can we get days? We're inside the building.
I don't know.
Well, don't forget that they've only been inside the building for about they've been inside the building for quite a while. They've only started doing interior finish work once they got the front of the building closed in. That's happened within the past 30 days.
Have to keep the temperature has to be right in there.
Yeah.
But my point
So-
is, they can't even, the contractor and the architect's not even on the same page. The architect wants 11, the contractor wants 11, but the architect says only 10. They don't even agree to the same stuff.
It's
Give 'em 10.
interpretation of the contract. We hire the architect to represent us and advise us what we think is best. At
Yes.
the end of the day, you're right. At the end of the contract in March, when the CO's issued, they're coming back and forth because there's about 60 or 70 days out there in limbo.
An argument.
A discrepancy of a day between the contract and architect is actually pretty unusual. Typically, there's a greater separation between what the architect says they're entitled to and what the contractor's asking for.
I'm saying, it's almost like
Yeah.
monopoly days now. They don't really mean
yeah.
anything.
Yeah, guys, they're
Every
a
time
year
Carl
late.
put his feet to the fire.
It's a
and
year
say,
late.
Time to finish the building.
Right.
Yeah. So my motion can die, but I say no days.
I second.
all right, we have a motion by Daniel to approve, G with no days, and it's second by Jay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I didn't get, I know,
I know me and Bishop voted aye. I don't know anybody else. May I have to do show of hands?
all right. Motion passes to approve with no days. 3-2.
They'll just come back and ask for them
I
later.
know, I know.
Yeah,
We're
they
gonna
gonna
give-
come back
we're
at
gonna-
the end.
we're gonna-
You don't give them to them anyway.
Because they're not going to finish all the time.
We've been more than
I agree.
More than
I
a minute,
agree.
dude.
I agree.
year.
I
A
agree.
year.
This was supposed to be completed when last March.
I can't vote the other
Mark.
way. I met with our architect and he explained down to the day really on that. So I gotta stay where I'm at. But y'all, I understand, and I'm right with you.
Yeah, I mean, if you hear that, I wish you'd come in here way months ago and explain some things, and it did open my eyes to some things, and I realized because when they had all that hole dug out, they couldn't even get stuff to the building.
Well,
They couldn't
you
get the
know,
equipment up there to
we
work
went
on the
through all
building,
that.
extend the booms
We
and
went
all.
through all that whenever they did their song and dance in here, you know,
Yeah.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, that's
H.
fine. They'll get it later. Go ahead.
What we have for
Look, we got-
H1?
Let's go, move on. Let's move on.
Hey, additional business?
Well, we got
No, we
H
got
to
H.
cover.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought she already did H.
Oh, I'm sorry. Item H, acknowledgement of receipt of written request from the City of Brandon for payment of bond proceeds for capital improvement projects and authorization to issue that check.
There was some concern about whether or not the clarification on that, and Mr. Slay put in his MOU the 3 signal projects, the 2 overlay projects, and I think I threw a 3rd road in there in case they had any funds left over. So the money is specifically designed for those projects in that order.
Those lights we voted on?
Yep,
Yes,
yep.
first, starts off with the Highway 18
Correct.
interchange light, and it kind of works its
Can
way
we get a
down.
list of all that money that we're donating?
Yeah, that's what
I just wanna say, you know, we set aside money for, $1 million for District 5. Of that, I spent about 600,000 in Pearl, penny pinching, doing microservicing. Never dreamed giving $2 million to Brandon to do their, you know, MPO projects. And once these other municipalities find out about it, they're not gonna be happy at all. So, I would like to see a line item, where all this money is being spent.
I think it's in the MOU.
Yeah, and I think the majority of this, and almost 1.5 million of it, is those street lights. Signal light, yes, I'm sorry, not street lights.
Well, I guess
That really helps their infrastructure.
when I look at it, most everything, anytime we have something on the agenda to be approved, and anything, it's labels what it actually going for. The general person that looks at this is gonna look like, they're not gonna see the MOU. They're gonna see, we just wrote them a check for what amount of money.
We can
So
spell it out.
I think
We
it
can
needs,
spell it out in the agenda.
Put it in
I
the
think
minutes.
I'd rather it be
I
broke
agree with
down
you.
to what it's actually
Can
going
we just
for, like we do
attach
everything
that
else.
to the minutes?
I mean, for our own protection.
Yes, sir.
I agree with
Can
you.
we make a motion to have an attachment to H, and that be?
Yes, sir, you
Tell me how to
can,
do it.
you can. There would be no harm in doing that. Just understand you've already approved the MOU, which is an attachment to some prior minutes.
Well,
So-
we
But if
added
you
it
read
to
the-
the agenda and voted on it all in the same day.
Yeah, I think you're right about
So,
that, but it's in the minutes.
But
as
if
far
you
as-
look at this today,
I
you're
never
not
saw
seeing
an actual
anything.
No,
list.
sir.
And one more thing for the record, today during their East Metro conference, the question was asked, you know, where are the 2 million we had committed? And, Butch Lee said that it was Jay Bishop suggested, and that was not accurate 100%, so.
That's actually Steve's district,
What was it?
I wouldn't
the last
know.
phase of it anyway. I made the motion to disperse the check.
So are we just gonna write them a check for 2 million, that's it? They do what they wanna do with it?
What are they just gonna
No,
say
sir.
it, Jay?
They can't
Pay
do-
attention.
Yeah,
They
you
can't-
said,
that-
you
you said
said,
the
no,
three
you
red
said they're
lights,
gonna do
and
that,
the three
and
red
then
lights
whatever's
and the three
left
payments.
over.
Well, they've already budgeted 2.2 million for the 3 red lights and the 2 road projects that we've already covered. I threw a 3rd road in there because I almost bottomed out my truck when I went through the other day, if they have any monies left over. They're not
Which
gonna
road
have
is it?
any monies left over.
Shiloh
Which road
Parkway.
is
It's
it?
the Kennedy Farms
Kennedy
Express one,
Farm
cut through between Lewis Wilson and Shiloh Road.
When that one come in there? I mean, you just put it in there?
Yeah, I put it as it's a 6
I know what I'm saying,
project.
so it's not included
Yeah,
in
it's
there?
just included in that MOU. It's all spelled out in the MOU.
I just wanna, I wanna print out. a
I
list.
think we need it listed. I mean, really, I just think it needs to be listed as we have every other project we've done. Even go back up here and further up, we got all kind of thing. We're listing buying trucks on this agenda. And I understand it's in the MOU, but if you read this, the copy of these, agenda, you don't see that in here.
I just want
That's why it
my
looks
personal
shady.
use after a meeting, I don't need it now, I just want it.
We'll try to make sure you guys have a copy of the MOU which spells out specifically what the funds may be used for. Keep in mind that this is bond proceeds, which is why the words capital improvement project appears prominently in your statement here. It's got to be used for a project or projects that qualify for use of bond proceeds.
Okay, well, guess
These are
what?
capital improvement projects.
Okay, but what I mean, too, and kind of what you just said, if there's some money left over, I'm gonna find somewhere else to spend it.
Oh, it's.
But that's not
the
the
money
really way
left
we do
over
bonds.
was for a specific road, which is a capital improvement project that qualifies for use of bond proceeds.
Okay, and if you don't have it, then what are you gonna do about that road?
Guess they're gonna get done. I'm just saying, if any money, if they achieve any kind of economies of scale, whatever kind of engineering costs, whatever, and there's money left over, trust me, whatever's left over still won't cover that road I asked for because it's just been totally destroyed, you know, and get it redone. But I'm just saying, just to make sure that if they did have any funds left over, that road is the next one to get done.
Well, I am curious why we didn't list them if they're on here to start with
You don't have to
today.
ask Craig or Janice why it wasn't listed. It was just the request is there, you know, if you want to put it on there. Janice, would you mind putting that on the agenda?
It was only just providing words that would cover the board for use of the bond proceeds.
I mean, the MOU's already been signed by the board and by the city, so this is just the formality of cut. They've requested the check. They're getting started on it. They're ready to start. I mean, you know.
The MOU required the city of Brandon to tender a written request for the funds in order to trigger the payment of the funds. So we got a letter request, and all this is acknowledging that we got a letter request, and now we're authorized to issue the funds.
And those funds have to be used for A, B, and
For
C,
what
D,
those
whatever.
MOUs
Those-
The lights and.
Yep.
Whatever.
The agreement says you're gonna get the money, but you've got to do these things with the money.
That's probably, I made the motion.
All right. Bob made the motion.
Yeah, second.
Daniel seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. I just would like to
Motion
get it
passes.
listed. That's on my only thing. I just think it needs to be there. But I don't want to have to explain and go, well, it's an MOU out there that covers it. So, that's all.
Well, it's really just Brandon MPO projects. That covers it.
All right. Additional business?
Yeah, I've got something. I know she's got a
I'll do-
animal
go
shelter
ahead.
discussion.
I'll do this after you get through.
Yeah, mine's quick. Mine's just more of a general statement to be discussed. Yeah, under additional, yeah, and it goes back to the magical words of fiber lane in Rankin County. And I know it's just a crazy word to say, and I hate to even bring it up, but I've never brought this up really, I guess, as passionately as I want to try to emphasize it again here. I can go back from numerous times on the agenda in the minutes where I've discussed the problems we're having with fiber laying. And Charles, if you got your pen ready and your recorder, be sure you got this down there pretty good, because I'm going to do the best I can to explain the discontent I have with the fiber laying that's going on right now. We have fiber installation going on in Rankin County, and we have to do it based on the federal mandates and the guidelines that come out there. But they go rogue on us, and they don't care anything about the infrastructure in Rankin County. The current one I'm going to talk about in all caps is C-Spire, and the issue that I'm having with Delta contractors that go through and try to install fiber. About a month and a half ago, maybe not a month and a half ago, maybe back in October, I talked about the problem we were having on the road, just tearing stuff up. We cut water lines, leave electrical lines cut. We shut down the lights at 25. We've had kids fall in holes. We've had all kind of crazy stuff that goes on out there with these contractors running the road. And I understand things are going to happen. And I thought I made myself as clear as I can make it that we need communication with the county on the problems that they run into. I understand we're going to cut lines and we're going to spread gas throughout the area and we're going to cut the power down and nobody's going to be able to drive on the roads as they tear up. I get all that kind of stuff. But the problem I had a week ago is we go back in and we cut a gas line over there, even by Mr. Swells' house. Shuts him down where he can't get home, and I'm not really worried about him getting home on time. But what I am worried about is when they cut this gas line and the water line they cut, they go in and they shut the water off for 4 blocks. Now, that's not really a major issue either. The only problem I've got is nobody bothered to tell the county. Now, how does that affect us? Well, it doesn't until you have a house fire and there's no water in the fire hydrants. So I go 2 to 3 hours on a public safety issue, and I can't get C-Spire, well, their contractors, to notify us to say, hey, we've got a problem. We don't have water in the subdivisions. Now, thank the Lord that the fire alarm that went off was actually a bogus alarm, and there wasn't an actual working fire. But for 5 blocks, when the fire department puts that little wrench on the hydrant and they spin it, and it charges the line, historically, water comes out. In this case, no water was going to come out because C-Spire had shut the water off to half the subdivision. It's not a big deal unless your house is in that area and your house needs water to put it out, or your children's trapped inside and they need the fire department to come in with a water line to protect them. My issue is I can't handle any more rogue actions by contractors, whether it's C-Spire, AT&T, whoever it is that comes out and just destroys our neighborhoods, don't let us know when we have problems and notify us. At this point, I've asked Mr. Harrison again to shut down C-Spire for probably the 5th or 6th time we've done this. They've destroyed Palisades, Avalon, areas in Hidden Hills. Now they're destroying Castlewoods. I get things are going to tear up. I get things are going to blow up. I get that problems are happening. But if we can't get proper notification on public safety issues when things happen, we've got a major, major problem. And I understand we got to go through the guidelines, and Mr. Slay understand the law and how it makes us happen. But we've got to have some sense in how we do these things. I'm at my wit's end with it. We've stopped it at this point. At some point, we're going to try to sit down with C-Spire. I hope they understand the importance of public safety. I hope they understand the importance of that when something happens, the county has to be notified when this goes on. I can't say anything clearer. My next presentation I'm going to use the slide projector here, and we're going to bring things down. I'm going to pass out handouts. We're going to go through color-coded charts, whatever we got to do. But I don't understand why Rankin County can't explain to a contractor the importance of notifying the county when something jacks up. I just don't understand it. So I'm open for any type of suggestions you guys may have.
I think you got their idea.
It doesn't matter.
You got the
Just
right
stop
idea. You shut them down.
The problem is the area looks like a war zone. So it's kind of like shutting down the Go project. You can do it, but everything's already tore up already.
Yeah.
So I know it's going to create a tremendous lawsuit that's going to come up, and it makes, I know, Trey and Clay going to be so happy because we're going to start building some serious hours, because I'm voting against any other fiber installation, against the law, from this point forward, because they don't want to be a good neighbor to public safety.
Right.
I'm not talking about the inconveniences. Yeah. We understand we don't have water to wash our hands and use the restroom. I get that's just part of living in the county that we live in. But we should have public safety. That's my issue. So.
All right. So they're currently shut down?
Yeah, they're shut down for now. But I mean, at some point they've got to be turned back
what about
up. They've been shut down
others?
for 2. Well, I don't know where else they're at. I know there've been some areas down in your area on 49. C-Spire was working down that area.
Well, I mean, the other, like,
I don't want any more permits going out, or if you got any permits going on, Mr. Harrison, stopped until at some point I get Mr. Slay angry enough at him that we get, and look, all we're asking for is some type of communication with us when something jacks up. That's all we're asking for. And from the issue of public safety, it's critical, even though we got to comply, I understand with the federal mandates, but we still can't just totally turn our backs on the public safety issues that these things cause. So that's the main point I wanted to have. And Chuck, somewhere on page 8, if we could put something out there to remind these people how upset the radical Daniel Cross has gotten over this.
So what about the AT&Ts and all them?
Everybody shut down until we come up with.
You put a halt to air.
We got to get a plan to ensure.
So I'd say we get them all in a room and go from there.
I need you, Bishop. I need you there. I need you angry.
What's going to be different than last time they were here?
Nothing. That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Well, we only
Something's got to
brought
happen.
C-Spire
I think what happens is, I think what we got to do is,
Different meetings.
I thought about this, and I figured, what do they do in the churches when they really got it? We may have to just lay hands on them. Not physically, Paul. We're not fixing that physically lay hands, but I'm talking about just put all our hands and just see if we can have a come to Jesus meeting on the public safety security side of this thing. This is crazy. But I mean, they're going roughshod on us. So I don't know if we need to hold hands and sing Kumbaya and get everybody together, but we got to do something.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, it's just,
I think
I've never seen nothing like it.
we need to have it in our specs when they apply for a permit, that and it may be a 20-page solicitation or spec sheet, but something as simple as digging a hole. You don't leave it until you filled it up.
Yeah, and I
You
mean,
know,
because the line they cut over here by Larry's house over in the Woodlands, this guy's house is for sale, right? So they come in and they cut it, whatever reason, and let's just say it was a legitimate cut. They'd had it marked properly, because a lot of the places they've been cutting, they've been going outside where 811 marks it. 811 might miss an electrical line, they pop it. They may go not to proper depth, they pop it. This poor fellow that lived right there, the inconvenience of him, his house is for sale. They ripped his whole daggone driveway out. It's crazy. And I know it's not Seaspurs High.
Ripped his driveway
Oh
out?
my gosh, you wouldn't imagine. And look, this is in the rain, at night. But I mean, that's all trivial because of the fact we still don't have water in the neighborhood. And nobody let the fire department guys know. So that's where I've got the problem. That if you're not going to notify the proper people when you jack something up, somebody's got to have some control of this whole deal. So
We didn't know we were supposed to boil water or anything.
Nobody has any idea.
Coming out of our faucets.
yeah, and
Nobody notified us when the gas line broke, how to get out there. We couldn't get out.
I've seen Larry fight fire, and I know he can do it. So I'm not worried about his house. I know you got your house covered, but it's your neighbors. It's just going to take us both, I think, to rally around it. But at some point, I'll lay on the floor and they can just stomp my throat or hey, I don't care. Whatever it takes to make them happy to proceed on. That's all I want to say. So I know it's under additional business. I know it's a minor thing to a lot of people.
Having
But
them shut down is getting their attention.
I don't think we can get their attention.
We'll have a plan in place to present to y'all on the 15th. Some direction we need to go, some specs and information that we've been talking about doing, Daniel, that I think we're gonna have to implement to make this work. I think we've got some good ideas. There's gonna be some enforcement stuff and some penalties to be done. And we'll have that together.
But when stuff jacks up, if that guy right there is not notified and the silver-headed man next to him's notified, then we got some serious issues. I mean, they've got to be notified. So that's all I want to say, Chuck. But
Y'all will allow me just to
clean up what
have,
Daniel messed
no,
up.
it's not cleanup, it's basically to clarify a couple of points that I think are important in this process, given the fact that they have been notified that there is no more activity until the board has set in place a plan that would allow for what Daniel just described to be better addressed on their end. The issue is not on the county side, it's on their side. A failure of communication. They are allowed by federal law to enter that public right-of-way. That is ordered, however, by the right of the local government to determine depths, locations, other material requirements of knowing where they've put their infrastructure, red lines, and the method by which they access that infrastructure. When they get that wrong, there needs to be penalties. There needs to be a way to reimburse or to compensate the county. And so all of that is on the table for discussion. I just want to make that clear that what we're seeing is a natural tension between a federal mandate that gives them access and the local government's consideration of how do we protect what's already there. Okay?
Yeah,
So,
and again, my issue is around the public safety side of the whole
that's correct.
thing. That's my only issue. I'm not upset that they tear stuff up. I'm not upset that the 811 don't do their job. I'm not upset that 811 markings that they're not following inside what their permit says. What I'm upset about is that when they jack it up, somebody's got to let us know for the safety of the people that live around there. That's my only issue.
And that is, by the way, that is not a consideration that would run afoul of their right to access. Clearly, public safety is at the top of the food chain as it relates to local government considerations. So we can clearly tell them if it becomes a public safety issue, you will do the following. And they can't run to D.C. and say, protect us from the Board of Supervisors in Rankin County from having to do this or this or this as it relates to public safety. That is not an area where they will win. They may fight, but they're not going to win on that.
All right, thank you. That's all I want to say on that.
All right, moving on, Mr. President, I'll give y'all an update on the animal shelter. Back in the summer, we agreed to look at doing set aside some bond proceeds. What do you say, Mr. Slay, about a month or two ago, the board allowed us to look at maybe doing the same method of financing as the maintenance facility. So we have a little bit of opportunity to get a much cleaner and leaner facility. We went to 2 vendors. One was extremely high. They said that's not going to work. Went to a second vendor. Sat down with him, explained to him what we were looking. I sent that to y'all on email. There's a sketch here if anybody would like to see one to refresh. You're looking at roughly about 9,600 square foot building. Turnkey, you're looking at roughly around $950,000, give or take 10 or 15 either direction, depending upon certain specifics or specifications. I've had Mr. Schley reach out at my request to DeSoto County. DeSoto runs a full operation, from an animal shelter basis to an adoption side as well. They do it all. They have a hefty budget of around $500,000 that does all that. We're fortunate that the sheriff pulls that in, the animal rescue side in his development, in his arena. He also has already started rescuing to a limited degree because they don't have the facilities to do any more than what they've got there now. So we already do a rescue operation. We are not a kill shelter. We take our dogs and pets on to animals to Jackson, to the Mississippi Red Light Rescue League. I think this board entertained the idea, 10 years ago, Jared, back in 08, 09, when the animal folks came to the board about maybe donating some land, and then that
a little different deal.
All got sideways.
They're gonna get all the funding.
Do all this other stuff. So the board was receptive to the concept. I just taken it one step further. I don't think the rescue folks are going to be able to afford to put those funds together. We have an opportunity to do something here. You see a plan in front of you that says roughly 2,700 square feet of a 9,600 square foot building will be dedicated to the rescue group who we lease out that space to. We'll be in control of that space. I look at it from a downside scenario. This is a risk, as Jay has said, because you never know what a volunteer group, how that's going to play out. But this board looked to Jim Anderson 4 or 5 years ago on recommendations for the horse facility. We followed those recommendations. I think we have credibility in the 501c group who is wanting to put forth an effort to make rescue a bigger reality in the county. So I think he can put it together. Worst case scenario, he doesn't. Then the sheriff just expands his animal operations potential. We put other folks, or the board puts other folks in that space, depending upon what they want to do. From a cost perspective, the contractor said basically by the time you take consideration the additional drainage you have to in the kennel area and the cost of the kennels and putting those together, and that what you do up in the office area, the cost is pretty much across the board. I mean, one is not exorbitantly high at one end of the building than the other end of the building. So you're looking at roughly $250, $270 for a rescue area, the balance to the thing. I think it's a good opportunity for the county. I appreciate what Jared in his last comment said. There's some folks concerned about it. But animal shelter, animal collection is our job, part of it. The rescue part, not so much. That is not. That is more of a compassion issue. I'd like to see us try to pursue this opportunity, pursue this venture to see. If it doesn't, then we say, hey, we gave it a shot at it. It didn't work. Y'all go do your own thing down the road somewhere else. Sheriff, if he's successful doing it, he can expand his, or whatever the case may be. But here we are. I'm looking for your comments, your thoughts. I'm kind of see what direction you want to head.
What was the part you said something about us budgeting? The way the other counties, they actually budget.
DeSoto has a $500,000 budget for
Right.
animal rescue. They do the whole thing. They go out and collect it all, which the sheriff already does, and then they also put forth a rescue operation too, or an adoption. They help adopt those animals they rescue, and they do it all with county employees. What we're talking about doing is taking this 2,700 square feet, create a lease to the 501c, and you heard Dr. Anderson up here discuss what their plans were. I can get him back here at the next meeting if y'all are concerned that part wouldn't cost us anything other than the electrical, and then we may work out something on the lease on that they handle that aspect too, but that's kind of from a budget standpoint where it is. In worst case scenario, in a year's time, they'll work, or the sheriff's unhappy with the relationship he's got down there, and we kick it, and then the sheriff just takes over the space. And I get the fact nobody wants to see us spend $1 million on animals, but part of that is our job. Fortunately, the sheriff takes up that aspect of it, and the compassion side is that we do operate a non-kill shelter, and the sheriff is already doing adoption work anyway, in a limited basis. This would just help expand it, and then and I just feel that.
Really, there's no such thing as a non-kill shelter.
Well, I won't get into that. You're lucky he's not here because he would tell you that he operates very adamant about that, he operates a non-kill shelter. Right, Paul? I mean, he is very adamant. Please do.
Yeah, this is an issue that obviously the sheriff's very passionate about, and he sends his condolences for not being here. He obviously wants to be a part of this discussion, and plans going forward. With the holidays and the storms, his schedule's been hectic, and then he's at the sheriff's convention today in Natchez, so that's why he was unable to make it. But I know he wants to be a part of this discussion going forward.
Well, I mean, we're all compassionate to animals. I mean, I've adopted some because it won't go away. So I just have to feed them and adopt them. One's named Chance, one named Lucky. Lucky found me, you know. But, so no, I'm sympathetic to it all. But, you know.
The sheriff is in a position where if we don't do something, we're almost making it impossible for him to be successful with the way our county's grown and our animals have grown, and that's probably the number one complaint that he gets is on animals. People, whether it's my dog is gone or somebody else's dog is at my place or stray dogs and cats and whatever. We've got to do something. We can't just keep treading water. We're drowning. And so I would like for the sheriff to be with us.
Absolutely.
All the way.
And yeah, I'm here, so I can't quite
I
answer the way he would.
but we're going to have a meeting.
It's just, you know, we got a lot of other things out there too. It's hard to completely tell.
I'm all for it as long as we cut it in half. Shrink it in half. I'm good with it.
Well,
my only suggestion would be
let's just wait.
Let's get the sheriff involved and see if we can shrink some or do. I mean, I want everybody to be happy, but I also want to have a functionable facility too.
Absolutely.
And the problem is your phone calls that we've all gotten. I'm sure I've gotten numerous from out of other people, not even this county, but they're not seeing the overall picture. And I understand they're seeing. This is for animal shelter. They're funneled totally on that. They're not seeing the overall things that we as a board and the overall county has to deal with, because their passion is that animal shelter and adoption. So they're really not looking outside other than that. It's really kind of hard to talk to them. When you call, they call you, try to talk to them about that. You know, they're narrow-minded in their conversation on this is it. I have blinders up about anything else that goes on. This is what we need.
Yes, sir. I've fielded several of those phone calls myself.
Yeah.
But just say I got a little backtrack here. We started talking about this. We got Ken Sullivan, who's in charge of the pound down there, as well as Justin and the sheriff too. Sat down with the contractor and laid out the demands of what they wanted to see. And the sheriff was very adamant about doing certain things and cutting here and doing this and stuff like that. Try to get as lean a thing as he can do, but also something that facilitates his operations. But I suggest that maybe you just give pass along again here at the 16th meeting. On
yes,
that,
sir.
On that, and we'll bring it back up on for further discussion. And I hope for some resolution at that point. And we'll look at Jay's comment about how to.
You know, and one thing just to think about too. You know, here we have this is for animals, but here we have Judge Broom is coming here, even had asked about some improvements and things at the juvenile. So I mean, you go, well, do these improvements gonna be for juvenile, or are we gonna spend this amount of money for animals? You know, that's the kind of hard one to swallow in there. And you say, you know, y'all spent this on here, that and it's inevitable sooner or later he's gonna probably need what he's asked for.
Correct.
So I mean, that's where we're playing a juggling act. You know, we got needs for juveniles, and yet but we're going to look at a stronger need maybe for animals. I don't know where we are here. That's what makes it kind of hard to say.
I think if you look at most of the folks out there, probably vote to give the money to the animals as opposed to the people. But you know, you get compassionate about that standpoint.
Yeah.
But but if you'll let the sheriff convey to the sheriff, and I will touch base with him between now and the 16th as well. That we'll bring this back up, Ms. Janice, on the 16th in the city some kind of fee in the bond. I thank you, gentlemen, I appreciate it. Appreciate
Yes, sir.
it.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we do have a need for an executive. Is there any other additional business to be discussed?
I have an item that we need to add. Acceptance of the household hazardous waste grant from DEQ in the amount of $75,000 and authority to execute the documents.
Motion to add that to the agenda.
How much is it?
$75,000.
Motion to add to the agenda.
All right. We have a motion to add household hazardous waste grant of $75,000 to the agenda by Bob. Do I have a second? Daniel seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion was to add it to the agenda. All right, Bob makes a motion to approve that addition of the household waste grant of $75,000. Do I have a second?
Second.
Bob made it.
Second.
Okay.
You made the motion.
Jared seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
You moving fast.
Now then, we do have a need for
I'll make a
executive.
motion to discuss the need for executive session.
Second.
All right, Bob makes a motion to discuss the need for executive. Daniel seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Motion to go
Now,
into executive session, personnel litigation.
Bob makes a motion. Daniel seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're in executive session.
Whoa. Don't you come in here with no crazy stuff.
I might have her contact.
We got it.